without further ado, this is the what media students must know about AI. And AI has become sort of the big topic of this particular summit, and that's kind of understandable with how important AI has been to the stock market of the last couple of weeks. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, I'll start with myself. I'm John Shike. I'm an account manager at Advanced Systems Group, and I'm also the director of membership for SMPTE with a special focus on educational institutions, facilities, and students. And then immediately here, we have Anthony Garcia. Just to get this right, Andy Garcia is brand product manager at Zoox, and he's also representing the AI Collective here. And also, he is a teacher of AI, so perfect person to have us joining. Next to him is Renard Jenkins. Renard Jenkins is the president of I2A2. He's past president of SMPTE. Actually, Renard, Pat Griffith, and our current president have really been pushing to make SMPTE really focused on student membership and student involvement. So a lot of credit goes to Renard. But I also just found out today that he is the president of Hollywood Professional Alliance, and kind of blew my mind. Yeah, so big one for.
He used to be my boss when he was over at Warner Brothers. Yeah, he was the CT over there.
No one is Erik's boss. That's not possible.
Speaking of Erik Weaver is the head of virtual and adaptive production at the Entertainment Technology Center. That's at University of South California. And he's just absolutely delighted to have him here today. So thank you for joining us, Erik. And then finally, but not least, Marc Zorn is in charge of content production and production security at Marvel Studios. It's a little part of Disney. And he's also the Western Region Governor for SMPTE. So really great to have you here.
Security.
So because we're so short of time, I don't even explain what SMPTE is. So you have to look it up later, but SMPTE.org if you want to find out more. But I'm going to start with Renard. So Renard, as president of I2A2, you've been traveling around the globe talking about AI, and is there a common theme at the moment? Is there something particular you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I think the common theme is understanding it, and understanding it as what it is, which is mathematics, probability, and statistics. That's really what it boils down to. The other thing is that we are seeing a dissipation of the fear factor that we saw at the beginning of this. Those are the things that I think are most important. The other thing, as we kind of get into this conversation, is really concentrate as students on critical thinking. Don't look at this as something that you can use just to ask questions expecting to get a quick answer. Look at these tools as ways to actually deepen your engagement, and also don't trust them. That's the other thing. Don't trust them. When you get an answer, do your research. It's a great place to start, but it's not the place that you should be ending. It should be opening the door for you. So those are some of the things and some of the themes that we've been talking about as we kind of get out and get people involved with AI.
Okay, great. So I'm going to move on to Marc.
Okay.
And working for a huge media company in Hollywood, do you see a requirement either today or in the near future where AI skills will be really essential for new hires?
I think we're there. The thing is that during the pandemic and during the strikes that happened in Hollywood, there was a big effort to kind of trying to put the brakes on, hold back the tide of AI because we had a lot of people that were fearful for their jobs. They were fearful for the loss of their personal identity when it comes to being on screen and that sort of thing. When it comes to the big studios now, hey, AI's here. We're using it. There are tool sets that are now indispensable, especially if you're trying to maintain a competitive advantage between the other studios. And it's a way, believe me, the studios will go to great lengths to save even a handful of change. So AI is an opportunity that gives them these power tools that will let them do things very rapidly, very high quality, So the skill sets are important and really critical now. So learn it. I mean, the one thing I caution you, AI can be used for good or for evil. So don't be evil.
Okay, so Erik, a question for you. ETC was really one of the first educational institutions to make AI part of its teaching, part of its curriculum. So I'm what triggered that?
So we always look at the future, and that's what we're really up to. To quickly comment on his, anybody can build a house, but if you're not using power tools, you're at an extreme disadvantage to somebody else. And that's just really the fundamental truth of it all. And so when you look at AI, you kind of got to look at two aspects. You got to look at generative, and then you got to look at utility. A lot of the tools you're seeing out there are more or less tools that are just built into what you're using on a daily basis. It's not necessarily doing creative work, but it is helping supplement what you're doing. But it's just going out and pioneering and figuring out what is going to go on. What do we need to know? What are the caveat emptors coming around the future? What do we really got to dig deeper and know more about? So that's our whole mission. And we've been around about 33 years. So we were founded at the behest of George Lucas. Our organization helped create DCI, or digital cinema, and then got it 80% of the way there, then handed it off to SMPTE and IMF.
We drove it home.
Yes. So laid the foundations, and then they drove it home. And that's really how it works in the industry. But again, the answer is that's our mission. It's looking around the corner.
So you were doing virtual production before. So I'm kind of wondering, is there kind of a connection there, a link?
Yeah, sadly, at the same time as Noah Kadner's AI meets virtual production talk in the other room there. But there's a huge amount of correlations between virtual production. So our team was the first one to shoot at Amazon Stage 15, Sony Stage 7. These are big, large, productions. But one of the things that was very challenging in virtual production in the beginning is that especially on Mandalorian, you had a 9-month window to build the VAD, or the virtual art department, the resources for everything. That doesn't work traditionally in filmmaking. You can't bring on an art department or all these people to build things before you've even hired the director or anything else. It's just nutsos. So now with AI, you can build assets much faster, quicker. We went from a 9-month pipeline on Fathead to about a 2-month pipeline on Europa, and now we're at a week or less for an environment or assets or things like that, depending on what you want to shoot or how you're doing it or what you own. So you have to be able to move that fast.
So question for Anthony. So you've been teaching college courses on AI. Do you think AI courses should be required for film, TV majors?
Yes. So actually, well, quick question. How many people here are advanced users of AI? How many people are intermediate? And then how many people are beginners? Okay. Well, it's great that everybody's here. In addition, I taught an intro to AI course at Kenyatta College, and just recently there's a program that will be taught at UC Berkeley, and they've asked me to design an AI media and design course for high school students that will be attending Berkeley. And that's because, according to them, when I interviewed with them, this space is just really new. That it's changing so quickly, it's so new. And they want students to really understand this new technology. As part of the AI Collective, and just a quick plug for the AI Collective, we're the largest global AI community. We have 150,000 members. We have 100 chapters globally, and we are in 30 countries. We started right at 2023, right after the release of ChatGPT, with 1 chapter in San Francisco, and we've just exploded. I helped bring it to a global brand, but right now I'm trying to bring the creative AI community to our organization. So that's why I'm here. And what I've been doing is I've been doing video hackathons. I've been having panel discussions. I've been meeting with thought leaders, and it's changing quickly. At least that's what I can see from just talking to people on the ground level, because there is a lot of hype out there. And so you have to figure out what is hype and what is actually happening with the tools. But long story short, you should learn all the tools that you can. Connect with me. I'd love for you to be part of the AI Collective. Quick plug. And yes, if you are a creative, you have to learn this technology. You just have to, because the creative agencies are changing, the studios are changing, actors are changing. It's happening very quickly.
I just want to add to that. In terms of which order that you learn things, learn the art first, because the AI is not a substitute, it's a power tool. It's the thing that'll get you to the next level, it'll get you to the next, it helps you do things much, much faster, but there's no substitute for having the creative eye, understanding montage and understanding how to tell a story, understanding what the visual impact would be of whatever visual that you're creating. AI is the power tool, and I'll just say that over and over again. Don't learn AI first, learn the art first.
So I actually have a really quick story on that one. I was in with a dean of a major university, I won't say where, we were at a meeting with one of the biggest Silicon Valley companies, and she told a story about how a student said, I just signed up for your AI class, and she's a weekend, and she's like, why did I go to film school? And at the end of the session where she finished her class, she came back to the dean and said, it's absolutely critical that I went to film school. Now I understand the language of storytelling. And like he's saying, again, the difference between hand making and something a power tool thing still doesn't tell you to teach you how to do a craft or how to make something nice. You could build slop with power tools.
Yeah, they perfectly stole my question I was going to ask later, which is basically, should we be teaching the traditional tools first? And actually at De Anza College, they actually shoot with Bolex cameras with something called film. It's a celluloid material. And I thought that's fantastic. But would you agree? Do you think maybe we should learn how to do the math first and then use the calculator afterwards? Or
100%. You know, look, math is a universal language. Okay, every single thing that we do is mathematically possible. Right? If you think about music, if you think about art, if you think about language, all of it is math. So you got to have a foundation. And if any of you have gone through math, you know that if you miss one of those steps, that next level that you go to is going to be a little bit more difficult. Think of this the same way. If you have the foundation of art, you have the foundation of storytelling, you have the foundation of creating. Once you have that in place and you understand how it actually works, then you can understand how you can become more efficient. Because that's what these tools are going to actually allow you to do. They're going to allow you to become more efficient, but they're not going to create. That's the reason that they say generate. They can only do what they can do based off of the information that's been provided to them, which has been provided by human beings, which takes you full circle back to, if you want to actually create something, let's talk to a human being. So when you think about these tools, when you think about where you're going with your art, as a matter of fact, how many filmmakers are in the room? Okay, how many engineers are in the room? Okay, how many storytellers are in the room? I need to see everybody raise your hand, because if you are an engineer and you can't tell a story, you can't get a budget. I'm going to tell you flat out. Okay, everybody in this room is a storyteller. So now what you're doing is you're using these tools to tell a better story. That's why the foundation is really, really important.
I'll throw this question out to the group. What is the most important thing to teach about AI?
Storytelling.
What he said.
Yeah, I mean, it's your story. It's your authenticity. You know, what they're saying is that this technology, you're going to need a human in the loop. And that human in the loop applies to all different types of AI products, whether it's robotics, whether it's, art, or whether it's visiting a doctor. There's a human in the loop. And so right now you're going to need a human in the loop. And I think what is going to be interesting are those stories that people are going to be able to tell. And if you think about it, this technology is going to democratize how people can tell stories. So there are going to be people from rural parts of Latin America, rural parts of Asia, rural parts of Africa, who never would have been able to tell their story in the past, but with a laptop and with access to the cloud and the internet, they're going to be able to tell their stories, which will change the distribution model, which will change social media, and which will change, how we connect with one another. But it's going to be about those stories that we share that are really going to connect us. And you're right, it is storytelling as artists.
I guess I would say a lifelong passion to learn and to continue to learn. We're not in a static age where you take a job for 30 years or learn one particular tool like Blender or something anymore and make your whole career up. You need to learn to thrive or enjoy playing with the latest toy, the newest thing. And I think that's the most critical thing to teach. I mean, obviously you have to understand the fundamentals of storytelling, but beyond that, you've got to learn how to be okay with change.
I would just say, don't get too enamored with the new toy. It's the hardest thing to fight against if you need to kind of try and dim people's enthusiasm. The AI, again, can get you a lot farther than you were expecting. And it's nice to be able to kind of... It's not perfect. No, as a matter of fact, I love the phrase that I heard in the previous one.
Prompt and pray is not a strategy.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, having these little happy accidents when you're telling your stories, that's a bonus. That's a nice thing, as long as you're at least curating the main thread. As long as you're okay saying, well, I didn't expect that, but I kind of like the way that works, and incorporate it and make it an iterative process. But again, the creative process is the most important thing, and use the right tool for the right job, rather than just saying, hey, I'm really good at prompting and praying and getting some great results out of it. That's fine, but it'll only take you so far.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is to go along with the analogy of the toy is it should be Christmas every morning. You should be opening up something new every single day, and not only play with the toy, but play with the box as well. Get under the hood. Try and understand how the different engines actually, how they generate based off of the style of prompting that you're giving, but also how you can actually change your prompting style to get more out of the generations. Those are different things. A lot of the filmmaking we talk about, lens, aspect ratio. You want to talk about, foot and meters. You want to talk about composition. You want to talk about, whether or not you want to have depth of field. You need to understand the difference between an 85 millimeter lens and a 50 millimeter. There's a big difference between the two, and there's a lot that you can do with either one of them. But what is it that the look in the field that you're going for? The other thing I would also say is that generation is great. Everybody loves it. But there's also other kinds of artificial intelligence, such as predictable. And predictive AI is actually useful, especially if you're on the side of development. You want to be able to get close to your budget. So you need to understand what are the areas in which I need to be concentrating on to make sure that I'm staying on budget. Look for those things that are actually pain points in the process and see where some of these tools can actually help alleviate the pain. That's another thing that you should be trying to learn as you implement these tools into your process.
Yeah, and just to kind of follow up with everybody, I really think that people should play with these tools as much as possible. They change every day, and I hate it. Because I have to talk to people, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm sure all of us get emails every day. There's this new tool. There's this new way of inputting. There's a multimodal inputs. And so really try to stay on top and learn. That's why I teach, is because it forces me to learn. So I would say really learn the tools as much as possible because it's changing. And if you want to really make a career out of this, you're going to have to learn the tools. I know a global agency right now where they have all of their workers every 3 months report on what they can use and how they're using AI to change their workflow.
It's also good for dissemination of what is actually able to do and what it's not able to do. And that's really critical, especially if you're coming from a traditional filmmaker background. I see a lot of these people come in and they're like, this is my frame, this is what I want. And we can get them, maybe on some of them we get all the way, some we can only get 80% of the way. You might need to in-paint, out-paint, you might need to go into Blender, you might need to do all kinds of other techniques. But you need to understand, because like I get people come up to me all the time and they're like, Hollywood's dead because of AI. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I mean, besides more or less the utility tools, I think House of David is the only one I know show in Hollywood that's extensively used AI. So it's silly.
One of the things that I think people should also be very well aware of is that AI only knows what it knows and what it's been taught. And so what I do for a living is that I help protect content that already exists. So one of the things that I would highly encourage everybody in here to understand what's already come beforehand. So if you're asking AI to create a certain type of image, make sure that that image is not too derivative of something that's already there. Because for one thing, people are going to question your true creativity. But the other part is then you might be infringing upon somebody else's intellectual property or their creativity. So one of the things that I highly encourage everybody to do is learn as much about what happened before, you know, what great storytelling is, and look at all the classic, you know, watch all the classics and look at the way people have portrayed their art in the past so that you don't accidentally recreate it with this power tool that is really easy to use. So it helped me do my job better, but don't imitate, you know, Iron Man or some of the other ones that Marvel's already doing.
So one other thing is there's a difference between studio grade work and individuals and doing stuff. And one of the lines there is exactly what he does, and it's security. We just go and casually play with all these tools. But if you want to get to a professional level or deliver solutions to a studio, you need to actually create an enterprise class infrastructure with security and permissions and all of this stuff so that content isn't getting out. So there is quite a bit of difference between just casually doing it. I guess that might be off topic today.
No, I think it's all, to now, I think generally we've been talking about AI skills or what AI programs we could be using or how to use them better or how to prompt better or how to pray better. So yeah, my next question is, should schools be teaching ethics regarding AI?
100%. 100%. Yes, one of the other hats that I do wear is also chairman of the board for HAN, which is Human and Digital. And it is an organization that is building an infrastructure for unique identifiers. Intellectual property is the currency by which the studios live and breathe. Okay? It's important that each one of you, as storytellers and as engineers, understand that your intellectual property is how you will be able to live and breathe. That being said, it's important that you know how to protect that. And just as you want to be as voracious as you possibly can in protecting your own intellectual property, you need to have the same mindset when it comes to someone else's intellectual property, that you are just as voracious in trying to protect theirs. Because if we all play in this space together and we do it properly, then we will survive. If we don't play in this space properly, we're going to have a very litigious future in the very near future that's going to impede Hollywood from being Hollywood. And it's also going to impede what I see as a real benefit to this entire industry, which is the rise of independent studios that actually have the capabilities and the power to put out top grade entertainment. So yes, ethics needs to be a part of everything that you do. Very simple rule. We all learned it in kindergarten. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Plain and simple. If you stick with that, you'll be okay. But if we go down the road of saying that, you know what, I like the way that they did that, and I'm not just going to use it as an influence, but I am actually going to steal it, then you've stepped over a line. Being influenced by something and then creating something that looks like it or something in its same vein is one thing. But actually copying it and then presenting it as your own is just like your teacher said. You're copying off of someone else's work. You're looking at someone else's work, and that's not art. Okay? It's just not art.
Yeah, and also too, from an ethical perspective, yes, it should be taught, but we also need to really think about the content that's being put out there right now, because the algorithms will put out content that will divide us right now. And so from an ethical standpoint, we really need to think about the content that we're producing, how the algorithm is feeding us and putting us into media bubbles, and really not allowing us to think. So there's, in addition to, you know, just copyright and all of that, there are other implications with regard to ethics and media and content creation. So I'm trying to work with folks in the industry to solve problems. I want to have a hackathon where we build tools that are going to solve the problems of fake news or content or privacy or biased data. Because I don't think there has been a hackathon to solve those problems. And there are ethical implications with that hackathon that I want to produce. So long story short, yes, we do. We should, we need ethics.
Yeah, and let's face it, the nature of copyright is changing. Just because the tools allow people to easily recreate someone else's work and get away with it. A lot of where copyright gets its power is in being able to maintain a positive identification and control over whatever that intellectual property is. Luckily, there's a big effort going on now to be able to authenticate somebody's intellectual property and basically show the provenance of where the elements came from and control over it and establishing and maintaining authenticity of something that somebody has created, regardless of what tool that they use to create it. It's got nothing to do with AI in that perspective. It's being able to say, I created this, I've identified that these are my elements, I'm trying to tell this story, this is mine. And AI can make it so that you can easily, well, not easily, but you can break that down in ways that you couldn't before.
Yeah, so we actually did that on our last production. We wrote a provenance comfy UI node, and so it tracked everything. So if you know the history of some of these pieces, Slice of American Pie was the first piece of AI art that got copyright. And when they first applied, they didn't get the copyright because they only showed the prompts. Then they had to go back and show their creative provenance in that process to get that. Well, the first animated piece is actually Critters, which got it. And then Nikki is here. The guy who did that is actually, I just was talking to him in the hall. He's a friend. But they actually got it IP on a character, an animated character in a series. So I would catch him if you get a chance. He's a really great guy.
We're down to the last 1 minute, so I'll ask Renard a question. Do you think that AI is transformational for film in the way, like, you know, sound was transformational to the silent movies?
I'm not going to put it in the same level as sound, but I will say that it is transformational in the sense that it can speed up your
Color.
Maybe no, not color. No. 3D.
No,
There you
no,
go, Jim DePhilippus, ladies and gentlemen. He takes it, and it's like 3D. Every 20 years, we're gonna see it come back and go away. But But no, I think it is transformational in the sense that it gives us the opportunity to get our ideas out faster. You know, it gives you the idea, it gives you the capabilities of being able to sort of say, okay, you know what, I really would love to think about what this would look like, and it'll get that out. But I don't think that, you know, look, how many of you use Photoshop? How many of you are photographers? Do you remember when well, some of you are too young, but when Photoshop actually started, that was the death of photography. Everyone said, oh my gosh, photographers are going to be out of their job. We're at that same stage again. Okay, this is another tool that's capable of doing transformations and is capable of doing generations and iterations on existing artwork and existing data. And then creating something, or I should say generating something that looks a little different. That's really what it does, all right?
So I
Well,
just
one last
okay, really quick because you zero.
Really quick. Luckily, I am seeing a lot of people rejecting AI. That's done poorly. So if they're using the tools very ham-fistedly, and they create, you know, I mean, it's fun to create, you know, greeting cards that are just hilarious. But I've noticed a lot of people are going, it was AI. It's like, I've seen it, no big deal. I mean, yeah, it looks different than everything else I've seen, but it's AI. So learn how to use it well, and it'll become transformation.
How about a quick hand for our panel?